Alright, what's going on, my fellow mermaids? We got some more Johnny Somali coverage to deal with today. There were some points I wanted to expound upon from my last video, as well as some new stuff we gotta talk about, and some new clips to go over. You see, there's just a lot of lore with this guy. Enough that I wanted to make another video, possibly another, but only if something worthwhile comes out in the future. But we have more details to cover, basically. So as many of us know, Johnny was drunk streaming mere hours before his trial. But it turns out he might have been high as well. It appears as though Senor Ramsey was likely taking illegally prescribed drugs. And this drug is called Zolpidem. It has a high chance of creating drug dependency. I mean, you'd at least think that he has some level of self-love, but no. And that doesn't make sense given his whole I only care about myself narrative. From where I'm standing, it doesn't even seem like he cares about himself. And the thing about Zolpidem is it's something that your doctor has to prescribe to you. So no South Korean resident should even have this much because they usually only prescribe 2 days worth of it. You're not going to get more than you need, and this looks like a whole month's worth of supply. Now I also want to talk about Hank Yu, the guy Ramsey is sleeping with. Now some of you might know him already, but in case you don't, or you just want a Hank recap anyways, let's just pretend that Johnny is the Joker. Pretty disrespectful to the Joker, I know, but that would make Hank his Harley Quinn. He's basically a South Korean version of Johnny Somali. I think there's some Chinese in there as well, but he's mostly like that one South Korean. That one guy, if you know what I mean. And in a lot of ways, there aren't many distinctions between Hank and Johnny. They have nearly identical personalities and mindsets. But what really sets Hank apart, though, is that he has a criminal record. Now, Johnny does too, but his is fresh. Hank's had a criminal record for years, though. And he really likes the Chinese Communist Party. Like, really, really likes it. Another problem, though, is that unlike Johnny, he knows the law to an extent. On the criminal side. He's not a lawyer or anything. In fact, some of his advice has been downright unhelpful. But you can see videos where Hank's like, don't burn that tree, they can sue you. Things like that. It's because of him Johnny's been out of jail as long as he had. Without help, he definitely would have gone down sooner. He comes from a wealthy family, which was another problem. Mommy and Poppy keep bailing him out. So that's who Hank is, pretty much. So if you ever find yourself wondering if Hank ever gets sick of Johnny because you don't know who Hank is, no, he doesn't. Because he's just as stupid, deranged, and cuckoo as Somali himself. Now in my last video, I mentioned a point that Johnny will be deported. And I was sort of half right, half wrong, but for the sake of being humble, we'll just say I was wrong. Now, I mentioned he'll be deported after he faces his trials in South Korea, but that's not correct. He'll specifically be deported after he faces prison time. So we can be thankful that he's not going to be in a United States prison. It will be a South Korean one. After he serves his time, he'll be deported then. But to be honest, I don't think Johnny's going to survive in there. So I'm not really worried. The saddest thing is Johnny's delusion. Even now, he's continuing to ruin his own life. Recently, he's promised to quote-unquote crash out and be the bastion in the evil. Johnny, despite getting out of his trial with an understanding of the consequences, refuses to act with any semblance of dignity or respect. I think there is some genuine cognitive dissonance here, and I think it's somewhat of a coping mechanism because he can't come to terms with reality. He keeps understating and watering down the nature of his crimes. Throwing noodles at someone out the door? Let's Johnny Somalitize that sentiment. He just spilled some noodles. Walking around shoving a bag of raw fish in people's face with malicious intention? Let's Jonathan Somalithanize that as well. Just going up to people and asking, do you want to eat fish? He keeps phrasing all these things he's doing as harmless crimes that you can't go to jail for. But that's not the issue. The issue is your intention. It's malicious and hateful. You cannot gaslight the world into thinking that what you're doing is okay. It's not working, Johnny. So what kind of clips has Ramsey given us anyways?
I shouldn't be telling you this. I shouldn't be telling you this. I got a device the police gave me. I press one button and the cops are there in 3 minutes. I'm not gonna say what it is. I do have a button that I can press, and the cops are here and literally. Where are you? We're coming out. GPS. Dude, you can't touch an American citizen. The fuck? How bad does that look for Korea? We let some like lynch American citizen? I got a button I can press and the cops are there in 5 minutes, bro. I'll definitely bring that to news, Busan. I'll press the watch like Ben 10. Police is there.
So I tend to take anything Johnny says with a grain of salt unless a legal source confirms it otherwise. And as far as I know, no one's confirmed that this watch actually works as Johnny says it does. With that in mind, I do not know for certain, nor am I going to fully believe that he's telling the truth on this, as is the case with a lot of the stuff he says, considering he's a serial deceiver. As for the American supremacist mentality that he has, I find it to be very disgusting. A lot of Americans were very grateful for our country, but that doesn't mean we look down on the less successful countries, or ones that are just prosperous in other ways. No, many of us would be very grateful to go see the world. So him acting like his American blood makes him untouchable, it's sickening, to be frank. There's no other way to put it, it's just sickening. He's acting like he's got DEI rights, and that's just not true. But Johnny knows that the American population hates him. That's why he won't do this stuff in America or any other English-speaking country, because he relies on the language barrier to slow down legal processes. And if everyone speaks his language, then they can just convict him so much faster. He's still afraid of Koreans and stuff, but he would never do this stuff in Europe or Canada or any place like that.
Where are you? We're coming out. GPS.
This also just pisses me off. He did this whole headphone adjusting, where are you, coming out thing, like 3 different times. It's just the sheer smugness of it. It's also quite cringe. Like, these people aren't keeping you alive because they care about you or think you're important. No, they just want to see you get locked up. But by now, we should all know well enough that this is nothing more than a facade, an attitude to feed his ego and help reinforce his delusion. Because if you're going to burn in hell, you might as well be blind to the pain, right? At least, that's how Johnny seems to feel.
He doesn't know Hank's address and apartment number where he's
that as well.
Stupid.
Yeah, he kept answering that he didn't know. Yeah, no, it's bad. It looks really bad for him.
Then he said, I don't know because I don't speak Korean. And then the judge said, you can speak English. Because the judge...
And here we have Johnny being racist again. It's amazing how with just poorly imitated lightsaber sound effects, he can completely butcher the Korean language. Not that he's even trying, mind you. It's just another example, this whole "he was speaking Korean" thing, of how he uses the language barrier to sort of mitigate some of the legal repercussions. He's become too infamous for it to work now, but it's still a technique he likes to rely on. And it doesn't really work anyways, because he literally has a translator. Yet in spite of that, he still continues to insist that he's right and the world's wrong. That's fine. There's only so much detachment one can hold from reality before they fall apart. I also just love how this is a reaction to legal mindset in Atozi. It just further proves how salty he is. Like, they cannot breathe without him taking an interest in it.
If y'all want chaos, let me be your conduit. Let me be your bastion of the evil. If you want to see anarchy, if you're an anarchist, and you want somebody that is going to crash out with no remorse, with no sense of self-worth, with no sense of self-preservation, I will be your man. I'm building up the Johnny Somali pirates, this pirate gang from the beginning, and everyone in here right now is gonna be a witness to what we're gonna create. Yeah. Only one yeah? Can I get a yeah?
Yeah, bro, yeah.
Your enthusiasm is intoxicating. In all seriousness, though, this is how you convey power and confidence. I'm gonna show you boys how it's done. Bakugan's gonna get a new fanfiction, yeah! That's how you do it. Moving on, though, I think this just proves that Johnny needs to be locked up all the more. He lied in court. He openly disrespected the judge in more ways than one. And now, even after his trial, he continues to promise that he's gonna make the world an even worse place. All for what? This?
Can I get a yeah?
Yeah, bro, yeah.
These 40 devoted fans that don't really sound all that devoted in the first place. Ultimately, I think this is one of the downsides of social media. And I'm speaking as a Gen Zer. I mean, there's a lot of good to social media, but there's some bad too. Everything needs to be handled with care when it comes to utilizing resources. Let's be real, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Never has been, never will be. But if you're going through some stuff, like Johnny clearly is, don't post it online unless you got some kind of meaningful experience to share or a life lesson to give. That's fine, but don't go and make other people's lives worse. Anyways, that's about it. See you guys later.